So here we are. It's the morning after the night before, and we still don't know who the next president of America will be. But it looks as if it will be Biden. There are still Biden's a few, whatever it is, 10, 15 ahead in the Electoral College, but there are millions of postal votes, early votes, still to count. And the indications are that they will go mainly to Biden. So it's not written in stone, it's not guaranteed, but it would appear that Biden is going to be the next president. So what's this all about? What does it mean for America? Well, there are a couple of points here, very simple and obvious points. The first is, why was Joe Biden the candidate, the Democratic candidate? He's an old man and he looks old. Now, Trump is old, but you don't think of him as old. Biden looks old. He looks old and he looks a man who is possibly fragile or heading in that direction. He looks old. He looks like a man who certainly won't be serving a second term. It's virtually impossible to imagine him being physically or even mentally fit enough to serve a second term. So, and I think this is something that's generally accepted. You know, if he becomes president, maybe after 2 or 3 years he'll retire for health reasons, and then Kamala Harris becomes president. Or he might go a full term, in which this will give Kamala Harris 4 years to look acceptable to the American people. Because Kamala Harris, behind her is the radical left, the pro-Antifa, pro-Black Lives Matter, and all of that. The radical left are behind her. All of that. The feminists, the so-called anti-racists, the transgender people, the extreme transgender people. So that's what is behind Kamala Harris. But Kamala Harris would be unelectable if she had been chosen as the candidate. So this is a Trojan horse situation. Biden was electable. Kamala Harris is not electable. A relatively, let's say, moderate centrist Joe Biden, relatively speaking, was electable. A left radical candidate, Kamala Harris, wasn't electable. So this is a strategy to get her in by the back door. And it might well work. So this election is not about Joe Biden. This is not an election between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. This is an anti-Trump vote. And behind that anti-Trump vote is the radical left. And we saw last night, we saw in Washington, the business people boarding up the premises. Now, why were they boarding up premises? You know, we're a load of, what do you call them? Is it the white boys or the whatever boys? You know, we're a load of guys from Alabama going to arrive in Washington and start shooting it up. No, we all know why those business people were putting up their shutters and blocking up their windows. It was because if Donald Trump had won and won well, the radical left in America would have gone mad. They would have turned violent. there would have been riots, all that sort of thing. And that basically tells you all you need to know. If Donald Trump loses, you're not going to have white people out on the street demanding that the election be changed or something like that. People will shrug their shoulders, they'll moan a bit, and then they'll get on with it. So, so what can I say? This is all of this. It comes down to the simple fact that, in Britain, when Brexit happened, I'm an old guy and I've taken part in lots of elections and referendums. And when we lose, we shrug our shoulders, we moan for a day or two, and then we get on with it. We accept the decision. The people who were opposed to Brexit have never accepted the decision. They've done everything in their power. And the people who voted for Brexit and the people who voted for Trump, they have been, in a sense, disenfranchised. They have been declared to be racist, ignorant, backward, and full of hatred. And you cannot have a democracy. One of the most important ingredients in a democracy, you have obviously a free press, which we don't have, a free independent press. We don't have that. You have the franchise itself. But one of the most important things in a democracy is the handshake. When the election is over, the loser goes over to the winner and shakes their hand. Symbolically, that is hugely important. It's the recognition that, okay, you've lost, your opponent has won, and the people who voted for that opponent were honest, well-informed people who just happen to have a different opinion. That no longer applies when it comes to the left. The left can no longer put their hand out, shake hands, and wish you the best, and then go home and moan maybe a little bit. That's not. The left now turn violent. They turn violent and they use every dirty trick in the book to slander, to unperson the people on the other side. So if Biden becomes president, it's only a matter of time before Kamala Harris. And then you're going to do a radically left-wing agenda. And it's going to be disastrous for America. There are some comforting things. The Latino vote seems to have increased. The black vote seems to have increased. They're good signs that people are waking up. But, well, we'll have to wait a few days to find out